Let's go find a good spot and we'll talk about Senko fishing for a second. For those of you that are new to it, there's some responsibility that goes along with it. Let's stand up and start pitching this thing into these toolies. We'll talk about it. So there's two ways to weightlessly fish a Senko. One is Texas rigged, as I have it right here, which is nice and weedless. And the other is wacky rig, where you hook through the middle of the bait. And you can put a weed guard on it, but it's not as weedless. Now there's weighted ways you can fish these too. I'm not going to get into that. But here's the deal. You cast that out to your target. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but the line lays on the surface of the water and it slowly sinks. So that line works its way towards you. Now, it's very irresponsible to take your eyes off that line. You don't want to look at your phone, you don't want to turn around and say something to your buddy. You don't want to look at what made that splash. You don't want to be looking for where your next cast is other than with your peripheral vision. And here's the reason why. Generally, what you see is the very faintest of just tick, that line barely moves. And what that is a bass has sucked that in, and that stickworm is working its way down into the crushers. Now, if you miss that tick, and then you go to start reeling up and you realize it's heavy and you set the hook, well, you're not setting that hook into the fish's mouth, you're setting it into their gut. And if you don't know how to get that hook out without hurting the fish, you probably just killed them. So there's a high mortality rate to Senko fishing if you're inexperienced or have short attention span. And I will say, if you've made it this far into the video, you don't have short attention span. Because this is a slow way to fish. And I mean slow. But it's my jam. I just really focus on my targets. I focus on that line. My ears are very open to what's going on around me. If you're more of a burning crankbaits down the bank kind of guy, Senko fishing is probably not your bag. And if you do fish them, you probably prefer the weighted methods more. Nico rigging, even Texas rigged. I got a buddy who fishes them Carolina rigged and he's very good at it. Me, I'm more of a weightless guy. So a lot of times this is how I'll start my morning before the wind picks up. Or I'll be looking for those areas like this that are sheltered. Because if you're going to watch that line, you don't want a whole lot of ripple on the water. And if you want your Senko to fall naturally, you don't want your wind pulling your line around. Now I call it Senko fishing in a generic way because Gary Yamamoto has the Senko. I feel it is one of, if not the best, stickbait available. Their proprietary blend of plastic has a certain rate of fall and a certain little wiggle to it that is just second to none. I also like the Yum Dingers, and I also press my own. I have mold for 3-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch. You can fish them on spinning gear or casting gear. Well, 5-inch, 6-inch anyway. Even the 4-inch, if you're good with a casting reel. The 3-inch are absolutely deadly on a Ned rig. Ned rigs and other little finesse jigs. So there's not a whole lot to it other than it demands your respect and that you give it 100% of your attention and you focus on what you're doing. Because if you don't, you're basically just killing fish. Point is, if you're new Senko fishing, don't be easily distracted, or else you're going to gut hook them. I'm not saying you won't gut hook them still. One of the ones I caught today was gut hooked, but I'm pretty good about going in through the gills carefully and turning that hook around and getting it out of there. It's pretty inevitable that you will gut hook some, especially if there's a little breeze on the water and you miss that tick. And generally that's when it happens to me. That or you get a backlash in your reel, you're working out all the little knots, And you start reeling in and realize you got a fish on there. And honestly, that's where I try to be very disciplined. And I don't go for a hook set. I just very gently reel that fish in. And sometimes they'll spit it on the way in. Sometimes you get them to the boat and it's just a little easier to finesse that bait out of their gullet, especially if you texposed it and the point of that hook is still in the worm. So this is a 5-inch dinger made by Yum, and it's the June bug color. I really like June bug in the spring. If I was only going to have one color, just one, it'd be green pumpkin, without question. If I was going to have two, it'd be green pumpkin and watermelon. If you're going to get a box full of them, so you have different colors for different seasons and different water qualities, well, I like June bug, I like cinnamon, I like black and blue. Okay. You are a good looking fish too. Clear Lake bass are beautiful. Thank you. Look at the colors on you. You are a hog. Oh my gosh, you are a giant. Nice fish. Thank you very much.